I wish that we had the power to stop trafficking. Unfortunately, trafficking is a problem that exists everywhere in the world.
It's not that you're creating resilience. It's already there. Mm-hmm. You're advancing it.
But when they leave, their lives will never be the same, and it'll be changed for the better.
This is Pod Strangely Warmed, a place where we tell the good Methodist story, where we have conversations that invite followers of Jesus to seek after that loving, just, and free world that God imagines for us all, and have a little fun along the way.
Welcome back to Pod Strangely Warmed. I am Kristen Worthen, and today we are joined by Patrick Booth. Patrick is a missionary through the General Board of Global Ministries in the United Methodist Church, and he is homegrown out of our Horizon, Texas conference. And so, Patrick, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome.
It's nice to return home.
Yes. So let's talk a little bit about home. I heard you grew up in Louisville.
That's right.
Tell me about that experience.
I was born up in Ohio, but I got to Texas as fast as I could. I was in Texas by the time I was 3, and that was there in Louisville, and I spent all of my years there up until I went to Cambodia in 2020.
So you started in Louisville, and you said you got there when you were 3, and now we're going to go to Cambodia in 2020. There's a lot of years between there.
There's a big gap.
So what are the years between there, and what's the journey that leads you into missionary work?
Yeah, so the church there in Louisville also had a profound effect on not just my life, but the course of my career and the things that I did. When I was 10 years old, my parents split up, and all of a sudden my dad was out of the picture. And my mom had to go back to work after not working for 15 years.
Wow.
And she had to figure things out for herself and her 3 kids. And that first Louisville church really stepped in and helped us. We have memories of bills being paid by church members and food being bought by church members. And church charities helped us a lot. So for a few years, we really relied on that. And that was, as I say, that had a profound impact on me. That made it to where when we did stabilize, I always wanted to pay that forward. I dedicated my life to helping other people. In my early education, I I got an undergrad in counseling, and I became a licensed counselor. I did drug addiction counseling, anger management, domestic violence, primarily working with practices that serviced probation clients for about 8 to 10 years before eventually just deciding that I wanted to dive headfirst and be overwhelmed by the mission field.
I love it. So as a missionary, I actually want to point out you are a lay missionary, not ordained.
That's correct.
And I want to point that out because I think sometimes we get this idea that to be a missionary, you have to be ordained or you've got to go to seminary. And that was not your path.
No.
So I would love to hear how you experienced this calling into missionary work. And was it a calling specifically to Cambodia, or was Cambodia part of, like, I'm called to missionary work, and now I'm going to Cambodia? Or was it Cambodia and missionary work?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different answers to that question. I'll try to summarize as best I can. As I said, the church was real important to me, and giving and helping others was very important to me. In the youth group, I was doing mission trips. In the young adults, I started doing mission trips. In my counseling career, I was still doing those volunteer and mission trips where you go for a week or 2 weeks at a time. And I would say that I think it was in 2012, I had come back from one of those mission trips and was talking to one of my clients. See me 3 or 4 times a week, so they were asking where I'd been. And I said I had just come back from this Christian mission trip, and one of them said, one of my friends has just come back from the World Race. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of that, but it's a non-denominational mission trip that is sent out of Gainesville, Georgia. It's where you go for 11 countries in 11 months.
Oh, wow.
So I heard about that in 2012. I didn't think anything of it. I was doing just fine in my counseling practice. couple of years later, after coming back from another short-term mission trip in Costa Rica, I got to talking to, for the last 4 years of my counseling career, a partner and I had set up a counseling practice, a private practice. And one of those times when I had come back from one of those mission trips, she said, well, you seem really passionate about this. Let's talk about ways that you could do this more. And we talked about maybe selling the practice. Over time, we made different talks and different negotiations, and ultimately ended up selling my half of the practice to my partner. And in 2015, I went on the world race, and we went through El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, Panama, Colombia, Ecuador, Bolivia, Peru, Chile, and Argentina in that year.
Wow.
And that was kind of my getting my feet wet. I had done, like I said, throughout my whole life, 2-week-long mission trips, and I always enjoyed them. That's where I really felt like the Spirit is moving the most in the church body. And that's where I really feel like the church is reaching out beyond its doors. And I always wanted to be a part of that. But the world race really helped me to see, okay, I can do this. There are different struggles and different obstacles, and there are different needs when you're doing long-term mission trip rather than short-term mission trip.
Yeah.
But I saw that it's a viable option. And so from that point, I came back. I did a few contract counseling jobs, and then I did do a program called Volunteers in Mission with the United Methodist Church. And I was the representative from the United Methodist Church to the Refugee Services of Texas for a partnership that we have with them. And I was working with them for a little over a year. And then I began the application for the mission field.
I love it. So I noticed when you listed off your 11 countries, Cambodia was not amongst the 11.
Oh, no.
And you also said, I began the application, and you stopped right there. You set it down. So when did we finish the application?
Okay, this is another story here. So I had, in 2019, started that application. I received a phone call, because you can save it and come back to it. I had kind of procrastinated and kind of forgot about it a little bit. And then I got a phone call from the headquarters in Global Ministries in Atlanta, and they asked me to complete my application. And I was like, oh, great. Well, is there a reason why? And they said, yeah, we want to send you, at the time, they were saying, we have a placement in need in Beijing, in China, where they are in need of an English teacher. And I have a teaching English as a second language certificate. I finished the application. I did the interview with Global Ministries. They said okay. And then they set up an interview with the actual school. And the school was much less interested. And they were not impressed with my certificate, which is fair because I did not have any experience. I just got the certificate, which, that's perfectly fine. And then in 2020, they did call me. They said, we have a position that you have counseling skills. Maybe you could teach de-escalation techniques to first responders. You could do some basic education with the women there because the country we're thinking about sending you, the women don't have good education. I said, oh, okay, all right. So where are we talking about? They said Afghanistan.
Oh.
So I don't think I'm going to take that offer. And a year later, I would have been there when the U.S. pulled out, so I'm very glad that I didn't take that. I simply told them, I won't take this, don't consider me a candidate. 3 weeks later, they called me about Cambodia, and they called me. And that was much more interesting to me for two reasons. And I was being looked at as a candidate for the same reasons that it interested me. At the time, the project was a brand new project. They had not started it. So when they hired me to go and start it. And I had done that with my counseling practice. My partner and I had built that from the ground up. So starting something brand new was very exciting. Also, the counseling skills parallel the work in that Project ARC is a program where we're taking people that have been trafficked and we're helping them put their lives back together.
Yeah.
And so it's in the same vein as dealing with drug addiction, anger management, domestic violence. You're helping people find the broken pieces and put things back together.
And I heard you say the name ARC. Would you mind explaining to everyone what ARC stands for and just tell us a little bit more about how that became the project.
Yeah, so Project ARC is ARC for Advancing Resilient Khmer. Khmer is the people group there. They are the empire that was there on Vietnam, Thailand, Laos, and Cambodia. They covered that peninsula for hundreds of years. It has shrunk down to what is Cambodia now. But the people still identify themselves as Khmer people, and they speak the Khmer language. And so that's where that word comes from. And then Advancing Resilient, we want to help get people resilience for long term. So the program was actually conceptualized before I went there. They had put together the idea of the program, and I was there to put it into place and to put it into practice. And what it is a program where we are doing job training and vocational training. We're doing coaching. We're doing mentoring. We provide supportive housing. We provide food, lodging, everything that they need for 3 months, 6 months, a year. And we're taking people that have been trafficked or exploited workers, and we give them a new skill. And that is in the construction trades. And the reason why we want to do that is because trafficking doesn't happen the way that it's portrayed in the movies or TV shows. Less than 2% report being kidnapped. 98% report that it's some kind of economic exploitation or some kind of predatory employment, some kind of financial bondage. And so when you give them a skilled trade instead of them looking for unskilled work, then they can break free from that system.
Oh, wow. So there is, I'm going to say accessibility to agency that needs to happen. Is that what I'm hearing?
To kind of put it into perspective, so trafficking is a word that gets thrown around a lot these days, and it's often painted into like a small picture, but the truth is it happens on a wide spectrum.
Yeah.
And so it could be anything from, we do have people that have been, outright slaves. They were bought or sold by the time they were 10 or 12 years old. They were working on Thai fishing boats, and they were in the employers were intending to work them until they died. It wasn't until some kind of authority stepped in and rescued them, or they actually escaped on their own, that they were able to find freedom. And then once they found freedom, then they can connect to our program or some similar program.
Right.
But at the same time also, there are jobs that are just exploitative. And so to kind of paint a picture of the way that works is, in Cambodia, there's a very inefficient education system. And that creates quite a bit of economic problems. Many of the children are pressured to leave school by the time they're 13, even if it's not being trafficked. It's just to go to work so they can produce money for the family. So the factories is one example that I use. Factories in Cambodia pay their wages to workers at about $125 per month. Oof. And that is below even Cambodian standards, which is $225. That's the minimum wage per month. But because nobody enforces the law, nobody follows the law. What's worse than that is that those factories are full of young teenagers, probably, because they were pressured to leave school because school costs money and work produces money. And so they go and they're working in these hazardous conditions. They're working 6 days a week, 10 to 12 hours a day in a factory that's literally just degrading their body. And eventually when some kind of injury or something happens and they can't work in that factory anymore, they don't have any other options.
Right.
And that is a completely legal system. So like I say, exploitation and trafficking, they're on the same spectrum, and it happens in many different ways.
Yeah.
The underlying universal experience there is poverty and a lack of opportunity. And so that's why when we are training our participants, our goal is that every participant leaves our program as a skilled worker. An unskilled worker in Cambodia makes $7 to $10 per day. A skilled worker in Cambodia makes $15 to $20 per day.
Wow.
And while $15 to $20 doesn't sound very promising in the U.S., it's twice as much money as they make as an unskilled worker. And so that certainly opens doors, and it gives what we like to say, we give our participants the opportunity to say no.
Yeah.
So when these predatory employers come in to, say, a village or to a community, and they're offering jobs that are, they're promising the moon, and it's almost always just hot air. But people will take it because it's either that or you don't have work at all.
Right.
But now we're giving people, no, you can say no to those jobs. You have legitimate skills and you can get legitimate work.
Well, and what's so interesting that I hear a couple of things that are really interesting, but one of the things that really resonates with me is in America, I think when we hear the word trafficking, we automatically think sex trafficking. And what you're saying, what I'm hearing you say is, no, there's trafficking across the board. This is about taking advantage of people, whether it is sexually in their work, in their working, however it is that they're working. We are exploiting someone to the degree that they are enslaved to the task that we've given them.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And we do actually explicitly work with labor trafficking victims. So we're taking people that have been labor trafficked and helping them reestablish a new life of independence. Labor trafficking is something that many people have never even heard of, but it still happens. In fact, it happens 4 to 1 versus the sex trafficking.
Oh, wow.
So 4 times as many people are being victimized by labor trafficking at any given time than the people being victimized by sex trafficking. But sex trafficking grabs the headlines, so that's what everybody hears about. Unfortunately, the headlines also dictate how many nonprofits and NGOs and how much charity and aid goes to. And so there's quite a bit of help for sex trafficking, and there's almost no help for labor trafficking.
Wow. How do you know when someone is being exploited versus being trafficked, and how do they make it into ARC as a program? So
the way that I'll answer that in reverse, the way that they make it into our program is that we have networked with other nonprofits. So we don't do any kind of direct rescuing. But what we do is what we call second mile care. So when they were putting this program together, one of the statistics that was very sobering that they saw was that 9 out of 10 trafficking victims, when they are rescued, go back and be victimized more than once. So that means that 90% of the people that you're rescuing will end up being trafficked again.
Wow.
And
There's
that's
some
just
recidivism.
Yeah, there's a terrible amount of recidivism. And one of the main reasons for that is because a lot of the other NGOs and nonprofits, what they will do is, as we talked about, they will specifically help sex trafficking. They will be specifically helping women and children, but they will not help the men as much. And number 2, a lot of the helping agencies, their goal is to rescue a victim and get them back to the community where they came from. But that right there is the primary reason why you see that 9 out of 10 go back into being victimized more than once. When we started this program, and I knew that statistic, and I had participants that were coming out of being trafficked, I asked them, why would you be victimized more than once? Surely you saw the signs. And they said, sure, we saw the signs, but there's like a 20% chance that it's going to be a legitimate job, and an 80% chance that it's going to be some kind of scam. But it's a 100% chance that me and my children are going to starve if I don't work. I'm going to take that chance.
Yeah.
Even when they recognize the signs, it's not just awareness. They are aware, they know what they're doing, they know what's happening, but they don't have any other options. And so that's why, like I said, a core cornerstone of our program is the vocational training. They leave with an employable skill that gives them a skilled worker status, so that they can say no to vulnerable employment.
Yeah. Now, I heard you say you are second mile care.
Mm-hmm.
What's first mile care?
So I would say the first mile care would be the other NGOs that we're networked with.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, that participant that we had that lasted about a year and a little longer, he had an interesting case where he was a full-blown slave, unfortunately. He had been orphaned. He has a mom that had chosen not to take care of him. He was on the streets by the time he was 8 years old. And he had been taken in by a family, and that family ran a karaoke/bar. And they put him to work serving drinks and cleaning up after people. He was doing that from the time he was 8 years old to 10 years old.
Oh, wow.
At 10 years old, his new caretaker said, "Do you want to go to work in Thailand?" And, being 10 years old, what's he going to say?
Right.
So they took him to the border, handed him to an agent, and they turned around and came back. And he went onto a fishing boat and didn't come off for another 9 years.
Oh, wow.
He was bought and sold on to 4 different fishing boats in the course of that 9 years. And his days were made up by dragging the nets in, cutting up the fish, and sleeping in between the time that you drag those nets in. And the way that he got connected with us was that the boat actually went into Myanmar waters. It was a Thai boat. It's not supposed to be in Myanmar waters. The Myanmar authorities came onto the boat. They arrested everybody on the boat. And then they found out that he's not Thai. So they said, "Oh, you're Cambodian. We'll send you back to Cambodia if somebody will come get you." Well, it's been 9 years. He doesn't have anyone. He spent 8 months sitting in a Burmese prison, just waiting for Cambodian immigration to come get him. Then they finally did come and get him. They brought him back. He didn't have any opportunities. He didn't have anywhere to go. This was during the COVID pandemic. There were quarantine camps on the borders for people that were coming and going from different countries. He stayed in that quarantine camp for the 2 weeks that was required of everybody that's coming in. And then he just stayed outside of that camp for a little bit of time after that because he didn't have anywhere to go. Eventually, the security guard there would bring him some of the food from the camp and stuff like that, and then eventually let him borrow his phone and got in touch with Ratanak International. Ratanak International is a NGO that we have partnered with and networked with. And so they cooperated, and we did an interview with him over the phone. Ratanak International got him from that border to where we are, and then we took him from there.
Wow. It's an amazing story. I cannot imagine sitting in a Burmese prison just waiting on someone to pick me up. That is powerful. What are the situations, what are the things that click into place that cause someone to say, "I can do more here. I don't have to do this." That would cause someone to notice that they would even benefit from going to ARC.
Like I said, the bottom line is that everybody leaves with a skilled worker status, and they leave with an employable skill. There might be painting, it might be ceiling work, it might be flooring work. In construction, there's a wide range of different skills that they can master. And we've seen a lot of success. I would say 80 to 90% of the people that come through our program leave with a life that has changed, and to the point, not just changed for a brief amount of time, it's changed forever, because they will always have this skill that always gives them economic empowerment. And it's a skill that can be used in any part of the community. They can go back to the villages if they want to. If they're more ambitious, then they'll stay in the capital city, because that's just where more economic development is, which means more construction jobs. One of the nice benefits has been that even though my background was in counseling before I went to Cambodia, and we anticipated, both myself and the people that were helping us set up the program, anticipated that the counseling skills would be vital for helping people deal with trauma. But what I found was that actually in practice, most of these people are just so grateful that they take to the program very, very quickly and very, very readily. I've had multiple participants tell us that this is the best time of their life. We always like to we appreciate that, but we always remind them this is only the best time of your life so far. It's going to keep getting better.
I love that. That is so profoundly hopeful, right? No, just so far. There's more after this.
Yeah.
It sounds incredibly empowering, but incredibly relational, right? Whether it's you keeping up or your folks that have lived there, grown up there, y'all are relational. It doesn't stop.
That's a big part of it. Like when you said, when you asked about like where do they get that empowerment? It's not just about the vocational skills. It's also about recognizing self-worth. And so a lot of these participants have come from places where they were continually berated, they were continually broken down, they were always told they were worthless. And I'm talking about people that, that's from the time you're maybe 10 up to the time you're 19. That's half of your life, people telling you that you're worthless and you're not going to amount to anything. And, after a while, people begin to believe that. And so when we genuinely offer aid, offer help, it takes time for different participants to trust us. And it takes time for us to develop that trust and develop a relationship that we can help use to bolster their future.
Well, and we move at the speed of trust, right? And so for some, that means they're moving really fast. And for some, I imagine that means they are moving at a glacial pace. So your sense of time being fluid, these 6-month commitments, feels so grace-filled to me because it lets them move at the speed of trust. It lets them move at the speed that they're willing. And that development of agency, and that's the only word I know to use right now for it, of do I just want the skill? Do I want the skill and to be able to supervise? Do I want to be able to do something fully on my own? That kind of scaffolding and tiered approach just feels incredible to me. What is the lesson American disciples can take from the folks that you meet in Cambodia?
That there's always hope. Yeah, I would say that is the most important thing. When you say, what is it that Westerners would struggle with understanding? One of the things that I think that we would struggle with understanding is that these things not only happen, but are very common over on that side of the world. And not only are they common, but many of, like if they're on the lower end of the exploitation spectrum, they're actually socially accepted. There's countless experiences that I've heard from our participants where they were working for 3 months, 6 months, and they just weren't paid.
Wow.
And those are jobs where you relocate, you follow the work, you go, and they're made promises, and then they're just not followed through with because they're, like I say, there just aren't guardrails to protect them. But what I see there is real resiliency. The participants and the Cambodian people as a whole are just very, very resilient. They will take whatever struggles come and they will keep moving forward. And that is one of the greatest joys that I get to witness, is that despite all of these hardships and despite what we would think all is lost, they will say, well, I want to keep going. And those are the stories that, as I said, they really remind you that when you're frustrated and you're facing different obstacles and things like that, there's always hope. There's always hope. So keep looking forward and
I love that.
Keep moving forward. One particular family really stands out to me, Pirum and Sopoan. So we had a couple that we do have women in our program. We've had a few different couples. What has happened is husbands and wives have come to the program together. And I always get the question, what do the women do? I'm like, they do the same thing as the men. They're doing the construction right alongside them.
Wow.
Pirum and Sopoan have been with us through multiple different projects. they decided to stay on after they developed different skills, and they have become leaders for newer participants that come in. They're now supervising, they're training, they're doing different things. And Sapoan, we sponsored her for barista training, and now she's opened up her own coffee shop in a new school that we have built.
Wow!
And so they're doing really well. And this was really how we could tell that the lives had been changed when. Oh, let me just go back for a minute also. One of the big projects that we just recently completed was a new vocational school. It took us a little over a year to build it. We had demolished a previous space. Over the course of the next year, we did the construction. Our crew had a wide range of experiences with that. And now it is opened. It has become a brand new mission completely unto itself. There's a whole new missionary there running that school now. And BeUMC and Sapoan built the actual structure. And now that the school has opened, they have stayed on as the facilities manager and the building maintenance.
Oh, wow.
And Sapoan has ambitiously opened up a coffee shop for the students. When they stayed on there, we started seeing a couple of little girls around. And we asked them who these girls are. They said, these are our daughters. They had their daughters staying at the grandparents when they were doing the construction because we were moving to different sites on a regular basis. But now that they're in a stable location, their daughters are with them. And one of the great surprises there is that, so we had a volunteer team that was coming and working with us there. And in Cambodia, I'm one of 8 different programs that work out of the same office. And there's some benefit to that in that, so for example, when that volunteer team was there, we had Sapoan and BeUMC share their story with the volunteer team. And the coordinator for a scholarship ministry overheard that, and she was moved, and she decided that she would scholarship their girls. So now their girls are receiving a better education.
That's amazing.
So we're very grateful for that experience, and we're grateful to just be a part of it.
It's that idea that mercy just works exponentially, right? Hope works exponentially.
Yeah.
It's never for us alone. It's always shared.
Yeah, I think just like the story of the fish and the loaves, it's multiplied all the time.
Yeah.
So we frequently, we're grateful for the participants' lives that we see changed, but we know that God is at work and the Holy Spirit is at work beyond that, because each life that we get to witness be changed has a connection with so many others.
Yeah.
And how many of those lives are going to be changed a little bit?
To what degree do you get to talk about your faith in the midst of training folks for this new skill that they'll have?
Yeah, so everybody always asks, like, how do we share the gospel?
Yeah, I think because, it feels to me like just training them is sharing the gospel in a way. Thank you, but...
Yeah. So number one, it's important to note that Cambodia is a 95% Buddhist country. It is officially a Buddhist country, but they do have freedom of religion, so we don't face any kind of government persecution or anything like that. In fact, a couple of years ago, they had a big festival and even the Prime Minister came and spoke at that festival, and they were celebrating 150 years of Christianity in Cambodia. It's 150 years of history for the 2 to 3% of professing Christians in Cambodia.
But they celebrated it.
So it's important to note that we don't face any kind of struggle with that. But the individuals face more persecution. They face persecution. Cambodia, frequently, if people are not very connected to a church, then it's often seen that Christianity is the religion of the foreigner. Christianity is the religion where you don't have to follow your parents' rules. Christianity is the religion where you don't have to follow any kind of discipline. And it's not really a description of Christianity. It's a description of other. And unfortunately, we see the same kind of biases here in many different parts of the world. It's really just a personal prejudice and a personal bias. But in the space that we are working, we have an opportunity to introduce Christianity in a different light. Mm-hmm. Because the first thing that happens when people have been abused, they have been exploited, they have been taken advantage of, for many of them for half of their life, when you offer genuine aid that doesn't come with any strings attached, mm-hmm. the first thing that they ask is why. And that's when we have the opportunity to introduce the gospel to them. Mm-hmm. As I said, for my own personal story, the church helped me, and I always wanted to pay that forward. That's fairly universal in many of the church experiences. Mm-hmm. And so we get to see a lot of that. One of the other programs that we work with there in Cambodia, there's a dormitory for women who come from the rural villages. And if you want to get a university education, you have to basically almost have to come to the capital city because that's the only place where the universities are. Mm. But many of the families and women could not afford that. So we have a dormitory that is fully funded through donations, mm-hmm. And it's also scholarship through donations. And it's been running for, I want to say, 7 or 8 years now. And the first student that actually went her whole time through that dorm and graduated is now working with us. Wow. And she has set up a brand new program called the Shine program, which mm-hmm. is very similar to our Project ARC in that it's a vocational training focus. And she's scholarshiping young women who left school early, so they never completed their secondary education. They won't get to go to university. But they scholarship them for barista training, they scholarship them for chef training, they scholarship them for salon training so mm-hmm. that they have a skill. And that, again, gives them the economic empowerment to really establish an independent life. But her story is the same story that we've been telling in Christianity for 2,000 years. Mm-hmm. Christ loved us and we love others. She received support and help, and now she supports and helps others.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's the story you're telling about yourself and your mm-hmm. journey into mission work as well, right? Getting the chance to experience the church being exactly what we're called to be, mm-hmm. Caring for one another, mm-hmm. sharing in not just the joys, but sharing in the pains and coming alongside one another, mm-hmm. And then turning around and getting to come alongside others mm-hmm. who are doing the same. I'm sitting here thinking about the fact that it's called Advancing Resilient Khmer, and I'm fixated on this word advancing mm-hmm. because it's not that you're creating resilience; it's already there. Mm-hmm. You're advancing it. Mm-hmm. You're taking it into the next leg of its journey, and building on its foundation mm-hmm. within humans and within the human spirit. And what a gift that is. Mm-hmm. So thank you.
Yeah, and one of the things about that, as you say, like we can only do so much. Mm-hmm. There's only so much that we can provide, and the participants themselves have to take to it and mm-hmm. make the most of it. And as I said, I'm very grateful that we get to experience that. And really, we say we're not the ones that are changing lives. We're just witnessing the lives being changed. Mm-hmm. We have these different things in place that help them along the way. But it's, for me personally, what the gift is just seeing them take that ball and run with it.
Yeah. Well, and I find myself wondering who's advancing whose resilience, right? How much are they teaching you about resilience versus you teaching them, and how very Trinitarian. I'm getting into my theology training because I just keep thinking how dynamic and relational this all is. Like it just builds one upon the other.
Yeah, and I think that I appreciate that just that connectionalism and that being able to walk with one another. Mm-hmm. It's not something that's exclusive to the mission field. It's something that we need in our everyday lives. Mm-hmm. But it is something also that, when we're called to share the gospel, when we're called to express our Christian faith to others, there's a quote that I always love hearing, that you preach the gospel in every way possible. And when necessary, you use words.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we try to do. Everybody always asks, how do you share the gospel in a country that's 95% Buddhist?
Mm-hmm.
And we say, first we say slowly,
Yeah.
but then also respectfully.
Mm-hmm.
And we do it in a way that we're not imposing and we're not pushing. As you said, we do it in a participative way.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I was afraid of the dark when I was very young. I was always terrified of what could be in the darkness. But as I grew older and I got, as I got into the counseling field and things like that, I've always thought of the analogy of you don't always have to bring light into the dark. You just have to go into the dark and hold somebody's hand and help them walk out.
I love that. I absolutely love that. I'm going to sit with that for a while. You don't always have to turn on the lights.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's just being there with someone. So if someone wants to be helpful here and we want to get involved, how can someone get involved and support the work that you're doing individually? And then how can we do that communally, both ways?
Okay, so the most helpful thing for us in our program is covenant partnerships. We do in our program. We are a bit of a unique space because we do actually bid contracts for those construction jobs for some of them anyway, and so there is some revenue created. And people always ask, "Oh, good, then you can pay for your program." Well, that'll pay for the construction that keeps our guys working.
Right.
It doesn't pay for the outreach. It doesn't pay for the food, the lodging, the stipends that we're providing, and the community outreach. So we do need to rely on donations. And so the primary way that the United Methodist Church has that going is through covenant partnerships. So covenant partnerships are just an agreement that a church or an individual or a conference is going to commit to X amount of dollars per year for X amount of years. And that's completely discretionary based on the donor. But what that helps us do is, and I'm sure you've worked in churches, you've worked in church leadership, it's great to have donations. It's also helpful to have an idea, an expectation of what those donations will look like.
Yeah.
So that helps us plan. It helps us predict and helps us prepare so that we can provide the best services to our program and to our participants.
Absolutely. I like to tell our folks when it comes time to make those annual commitments that I don't know how to commit a budget without knowing what's committed to the budget. And so it's helpful to know that. I do a lot of talk about covenant as like a space creator, just kind of personally that covenant creates space that we can return to. And so being in a covenant partnership is now there's a space being held between us that we are both committed to going to and to participating in. Whether it's financial or it's a baptismal covenant, whatever, there is a space now between us that we've created, that God's participating in, we are participating in relationship that we can return to, come what may. It guides, it shapes, it transforms, and it helps. And so I appreciate that. So covenant partnerships, and an individual can do that, and a church can do that. How else can we support y'all?
You can connect to us on the newsletter. I send out a newsletter a few times a year, probably less than my bosses would like me to. But I do try to get it out. And one of the benefits of those newsletters is some of it's just going to be updates on the work that we're doing. But I will also, I purposely put in stories of our participants and their experiences with those newsletters because I think that's very important. You can sign up for those things. You can sign up to be prayer partners with us. I'm not sure how familiar everybody is with the advance.
Keep on sharing.
Okay.
Some folks will listen and they'll be very familiar, and some folks will go, the advance of what?
Okay, great. Yeah. So the advance is not just the word in the Advancing Resilient Khmer, but the advance, the Global Ministries advance, is the program that they have set up to receive funds. And so each of us as missionaries have an advance number, and that's how we raise the funds. So when we are talking about those covenant partnerships, then churches, individuals, conferences, whoever is making those commitments can make those donations through that advance fund. And one of the things that Global Ministries really prides itself on is that all of the advance funds do go to the field. So they use apportionments and other revenue sources for their administration costs. And all of the advance, every donation goes into the field. And so that's one of the things that they really pride themselves on. And it does also, as I said, it supports us as missionaries, and it supports the programs that we're running. And we certainly can't do it without those advance funds.
Yeah. All right, Pod Strangely Warmed, we are so grateful for Patrick and his time. We have got all the links in the show notes, including Patrick's email, for those of you who want to connect with him, to learn more, to ask more questions about how you can get involved, how your church can get involved, how we can support the good work happening from the Horizon Texas Conference and from Global Ministries. We are grateful to the church at Louisville that raised you up and taught you what it is to be the church in this world. And so I'm Kristen Worthen. It's been a joy to share this time with you, Patrick, to share this time with you, Pod Strangely Warm fam, and we are looking forward to more conversations about the good work the church is about in this world. Talk to you later.
This has been Pod Strangely Warm. If you enjoyed our conversation today, know that you can find us anywhere you find podcasts. On Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube, any and all the places, we are there. So if you want to continue the good United Methodist conversation that you've been a part of today, find us, like us, rate us, review us, and share with a friend so that the good news that is happening right here in our own midst can amplify even more.
This was a rich conversation.
We're an hour and a half in. So.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even realize that. Yeah, you have a lot of work in front of you.
Yeah, they have 33 different consonants, 23 different vowels. Cha means old,
Okay.
but cha means yes.
Oh, so
Yeah.
that little up. And that it exists in such a, nope, don't like it. Nope, I don't like this one either. I'm just rambling.
I like that one. I thought that one was good.
I thought it was